phase in life to where I'm hitting a reboot. Not because of any, not because of. I've been pretty successful up to this point, so the reboot isn't about anything other than I'm an investment entrepreneur, and oil and gas for the most part has been my widget, has been my industry that I've looked to scale and build assets in and manage. And it just obviously with COVID, coming down, and when COVID started materializing, it's kind of cool that I had the 25-year-old me experience of the financial crisis. Like it feels really similar, right? There's these. That was what, 2008, so we're 2020.
12 years later.
Yeah, it's like there's these timed events.
Yep.
If you look at it, and they're major enough events, and like I said earlier, guess what happens on major enough events that shake the world? Oil.
Yeah.
Gets kicked in the crotch and hard. So, man, I knew back in March.
I think there were high-level politicians tweeting about oil professionals and things of that nature, and how they love to see the bottom dropping out of the oil and gas industry and all of that. I mean, so what you said is extremely true, because oil and gas gets politicized.
Oh well,
like it's going out of style.
I mean,
at every turn.
It's it's the life.
Much like the military gets politicized.
No doubt. And interestingly, those things go hand in hand. What kind of on that subject? A lot of people say, uneducated people. They say, oh, we invaded Iraq for their oil, yada yada. I was like, I'm not saying natural resources didn't have something to do with decisions that influenced Iraq. I was like, but you are 1,000,000% on the wrong side of the equation of what you think that a war does for what you thought that we were securing long-term oil supplies for America. Are you crazy? No, we were restricting oil from the market so it can create the environment that shoots it up to $140 a barrel and makes a lot of people, in Energy Plaza Row, extremely wealthy, in the process, right?
No doubt about it. The adversity you faced in 08, which many of us faced. I mean, I was very invested in real estate. I mean, it was brutal. Then the adversity again this spring. I mean, obviously, you could see what was happening based on your experience. Experience is knowledge. Everything else is just information. So that was a blessing in disguise that had happened to you before. What was your attitude as soon as you started seeing this boulder rolling down the hill at you? Where's your mind taking you?
Well, okay, so and if you'd like, you can fact check on this if you want, but I called what's happening right now in January. No, actually prior to January, and at the end of December.
Yeah, you had a bunch of posts,
and I was like, there's something coming down the pipe, because what I was doing is looking at the oil markets, which are always telling of future events, and there started to. 2019 is one of the most financially successful and, from a creation aspect and a discovery aspect, one of the most successful years I've ever had in my life. It is the most successful year I've had in my life. Had a huge year. And at the end of the year, there started to, some really telling signs started to emerge in oil futures. And that became clearer in January for sure. And of course, if you remember back, the coronavirus at the time, it didn't have a name, had already hit Wuhan, in I want to say November at some point. And that being a major industrial complex of the world, and China being a major consumer of oil, when they went into quarantine and their economic activity slowed, and we can get into the charade of this later if you want, but this is just what was happening, whether it was manufactured or not, I don't know. But what I do know is they had a significant slowdown in their economy because of their pretty severe measures of quarantine and lockdown, and that started showing itself in oil futures markets. And I knew that it was going to be a matter of, at that point in time, I was only thinking about the price of oil, right? I didn't predict, the severity of the the COVID crisis, you know, globally and for
Right.
America, and just the ridiculousness of where we've gone from there. But I did know that there was something coming, a boulder rolling down at me specifically, because this is the industry I'm in. This is, you know, where my livelihood is tied to. And that is something that will make you feel bipolar, my man, is having your livelihood attached to the price of a barrel of oil over the last 10 years, 15 years.
I can't even imagine, man. Yeah.
I went to the doctor to go see if I was actually bipolar. They're like, you're not bipolar. You've just been in the oil industry too long.
Yeah.
And so I saw it coming, man. And, you know, I've lived my life differently since the last crisis. So, because it's not exactly, you can't exactly do anything about it. But being aware that it was coming, it was catching me right in the middle of a $2 million project too. And I was about half of the way, maybe 65% of the way, capital deployed in this project. You know, you're $1.2 million spent on the exploration side of things, shooting my own seismic, buying production, locking up land based on $60 a barrel. And, you know, that was the first sense that I got that I was like, oh, man, shit. So it wasn't but like what, March happened, all the stuff starts happening. Right?
Yep.
And then April, maybe 15th, 16th, 19th, something like that, the price of oil went negative, you know, mostly technical on the trade side. But, you know, for anybody that doesn't really know what that means, it's like you're, you know, almost all of what you've been building and investing in for the last however many years, to include your future and current projects, they're worthless.
Right.
You know, it's like, damn. So, you know, the 2008 was great. You know, feeling wise, this thing has a really similar feeling to it, man. And it did prepare me, you know, at least to, you know, because what I've done is, you know, this time's different. You know, we've never exactly as a global community said, all right, stop. Never before in history, right? And what that means more than anything is, how much oil are you consuming a day when you say stop? I mean, because in normal life, the world consumes 98 million barrels of oil per day.
Voracious appetite.
That's right. In COVID world, the world might call for a collective 40, 45 million barrels of oil per day, if that.
Crazy.
Crazy, right?
Wow.
That's crazy.
That's insane.
Imagine if you kept so interestingly enough.
Those are mind-blowing numbers.
Check
man.
this out.
Fuck.
So so this is why there's always a bigger geopolitical game, you know, going on, and I'm not smart enough to know what it is, you know. But the thing is that
You might be.
at this same point in time, the Saudis and the Russians decide to get into a market share war, which means a price war, which means one of them's going to flood the market with as much oil as they can, and the other's going to match. They're trying to find more customers for cheap oil because it's more of a longer term play for them to gain the market share than it is about the current price of oil. So of course, by nature of that, and the other things already looming and happening, that's what sends oil to this. I mean, to this weird thing to where it's like, all right, all of a sudden, you know, everything I've based my career on is literally valueless. And, you know, in March when all this stuff is going on, and the reality of the unprecedented thing of hitting a stop button, not only in this country, but globally, and what that means to a global commodity like that, long term, it's like, bro, I'm not out of a job now. And I hope that, you know, at least people at my level in this game better be smart enough to understand this, because, you know, if you can't see the writing on the wall that the only winner in this game is a consolidated company up and down, your Exxons, Mobils, you know Chevrons, there's nobody that wins under that. To know that your long term, you know, the underlying elements that support your career are gone, that's a scary thing. To know that back in March, where I'm like, if I sit around and do nothing, I got enough cash and stuff to continue to run my company and be around for a while. You know, when I say a while, not much longer than maybe like a year, year and a half. You know, I don't know too many people that can't do that, right? And keep paying your people and all that good stuff. I mean, when your revenue just stops.